This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we are in the woods. It's scary, it's dark, and we come across a cabin. And this is an abandoned cabin. We go inside and, well, today we're going to be trying to get out. We're going to be trying to exit the game, exiting the abandoned cabin. This is from Kosmos. This is their versions of this sort of escape room in a box type of games. It's for 1 to 6 players. Takes 1 to 2 hours to play, ages 12 and up. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I am going to show you a little bit of how the mechanisms of the game actually works. You can just skip all that if you want to the final results if you want to know nothing about the mechanisms, but I repeat, I will not be spoiling anything. So in the game comes this welcome guests book. I'm not going to open this up to procure spoilers, but in here are some information that you'll need. It has a welcome story that you'll read to everybody, and it has different things in here you'll need throughout the course of the game. There are riddle cards. There's 23 different riddles in this game that are labeled with different numbers, and then there's answer cards 1 through 30 here. And how the game is going to work is you'll go through this here, and at some point in time you'll be pulling some riddle cards. Each of these are a puzzle or a piece of a puzzle that you'll be trying to figure out, and at some point in time you'll be trying to get through the answer cards to see if you're right. I'll go through more of that in detail just a moment. We're still not spoiling it. You also have this interesting wheel here, and this will help you figure out what's going on. For example, if you're trying to solve this clue with the star on there, and you think you have the right code, essentially, you'd go to the star. Let's say you thought the code was 703 or white, black, orange. You'd go there, and then pops out a number in this wheel here. So as you turn these, the numbers will become different as to what number card you would enter. So if I thought this was 816, this would tell me to get card 13 from the answer card. And then you'd see if you're right or wrong, possibly. Now I'm not going to show you number 13 because I don't want you to know here. I'm going to show you a random card here to show you what possibly could happen. Now, there's a number on the back of this card that I'm not showing you, so you don't know which card this is, but you might just take one of the answer cards, and it might just be, you're wrong, totally wrong, just put this back and keep trying. Or, the card might look something like this. Again, I've got it tilted so you can't see the number of cards that I'm showing you, but then it will show you some different things. And hey, while you're in that clue, that puzzle, you'll look for something that has that same type of thing. So if we're looking for the starburst here, somewhere that something that has to do with that starburst will have one of these different items. And from that item number, this is like, hey, you might be right. You're on the right path. But now, if it was the briefcase, we'd then look at card 30 and see if we pass or not. So these are some interesting cards that like, hey, okay, it's not wrong off the bat. We might be right. But some of these actually go to wrong answers as well. It's kind of like getting a little bit closer to the answer. And that's sort of how the mechanisms of the game work with the wheel, where you're trying to figure out what number this is, and through the puzzles. And so that's mechanically how the game works. But then for each of the puzzle types, now remember, all these different shapes are the ones that you're finding on the wheel, so you're knowing which puzzle you're trying to put the right code or colors in for. And for each of these, there's 3 different cards. There's a first clue, which basically just tells you if you want to get this clue, you can get it, but you're going to subtract some points at the end of the game. This definitely usually tells you which cards of the riddle cards do you actually need? How much information do you even need to start solving this puzzle? Second one is, okay, you've got all the information you need, let's help you a little bit further. And if you're totally stuck, it can give you a solution if you're really stuck there. Now, you don't want to use these at all if you can, because it does change your score at the end of the game. Let me show you how that works. And so here at the top you can see, depending on the amount of time you take, 60, less than 60, less than 90, less than 120, or more than 120, and depending on the amount of help cards you used. Now the help cards, if you pull a help card and you already knew the information that was on that card, everything about it, then it doesn't count as a help. But if you used any information off that card, you did not know it yet, it counts as a help card. So as you can see, as the help cards get more and more, you get less and less stars. You can get anywhere between 1 and 10 stars. So you can see in our game here, I'm covering up something I don't want you to see, but we put the names, the date. It took us 89 minutes, 43 seconds. We used 4 cards, and so we got a 6, which we thought we did pretty good, but apparently, well, just barely better than average. But that's generally how this game works. All right, there's the abandoned cabin. Now, let me first talk about the actual system because, there's a bunch of different escape rooms games that have come out recently. I've played pretty much most of them, if not all of them. And how does the system work? So I really like the system for a few reasons. Number one, it's simple. It's in a small box. It's basically just cards. And I like the way that wheel works. Now, that wheel is pretty much the same idea that was used in the Escape the Room series from Think Fun. And it worked well there, and it works well here. So yeah, they kind of copied that a little bit, but it works. And theirs is slightly different, but in general, it works the same, and it really works well. So I like the system itself. I really like that. The puzzles themselves. There's many times where you have multiple riddles you're working on at once, and so in this version or in this system, many times you'll have people working on different puzzles at the same time. Now, in some of the other ones that are out there, I felt like almost everybody was working on the same puzzle at the same time most of the time, where here there is multiple times where there were different puzzles being worked on simultaneously, and I really liked that. Another thing I really liked is the puzzles were not linear, meaning they, you would get some information, and then you'd get so far, and then you'd be like, we just can't get this, and you'd maybe take a clue card that says, hey, you need this, this, and this, and you go, oh, we don't have the right amount of information yet. So then you go off into something else, and then later on you get a piece of information, and I like that, how you have to kind of go back and forth. You're dealing with a puzzle, you don't know if you have all the right information, and I kind of like that because it didn't feel linear to me. It felt like you were kind of really working your way through a puzzle and getting information as it gave it to you. The puzzles themselves I really liked them for how simple the components are in this game, which is just cards. I liked the puzzles really did some special things. I'm not going to spoil anything here, but they were sort of out of the box a little bit, some of them. And two of them in this version, the Abandoned Cabin, were amazingly memorable. To the point where we'll be talking about those two events for a while because they were like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. So they did some really interesting things with this. Now, this version itself, I thought it was challenging, but it wasn't too hard. I felt like this was like the perfect amount of difficulty for our group. There were 3 of us playing for most of it, and then a 4th player came in about the last half hour. It took us just under 90 minutes to do this scenario. We used, I think, about 4 cards, 4 clue cards, and so we got about stars of 6 stars. Which I guess is just above average, but we felt we did pretty good. But it felt right. There never was like too much. And speaking of those clue cards, I'm happy that those are there, and I'm also happy that you get to decide when to look at them. Now, that could be a negative for some people. For example, the Escape the Room series. That one has that countdown clock. You have 60 minutes, and it feels like you're in an escape room because you're watching the clock go down, and they give you clues at intervals. And that works good, and I like that feeling. But I also like this because it gives you the flexibility of, you know what, we don't need a clue yet. Let's just keep working on this a little bit, or you know what, we're completely stuck. We don't have to wait 5 minutes to get another clue. Let's get it now. And I like that the rules say if you get a clue that you already knew all the information that was on here, it doesn't count as getting a clue, and I like that aspect of it. Now, so is there anything negative about this? Well, it's in a legacy style game. It is destructive. There are things that you'll be doing to cards and papers and things that makes it so that you won't be able to sort of play this again or pass it on. Now, granted, it's an escape room. You probably won't want to play it again because once you know the puzzles, you won't want to do it. But you couldn't easily pass this game on to somebody else. And some people might find that as a negative. I think it's worthwhile for them to do this because A, it makes it more engaging. And B, if they're going to put all this time and effort into making these games, they want to sell a lot of them. And that brings me to the final thing here is the price is great. It's $15 per game of these series, and it's probably gonna be $10 at Miniature Market for say. And there's a lot of game here for $10. I mean, you go to the escape room, the real one, it's $30 per player per hour. This is like probably more than an hour, and it's only $10 online. Really? So I don't know. It's the price is great. So overall, I really enjoyed the way that this game works, all the components, the way that those answers work, where sometimes you get them right, sometimes you not know, you have to get up another card. The system itself is great. It might be my favorite system as a whole, and the puzzles were excellent. So this one, top notch. I absolutely love this, and I'm really excited to see the rest of these, and that is Exit the Game, The Abandoned Cabin.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.